I think the three most important skills required for youth in the 21st century would be, first, adaptability, because the world is changing so fast. I mean, from when I was a child, every day is a new day, so to be adaptable. The second is to have an affinity for technology, because everything that's going on is in some way or the other, whether it's in the field of education, in the field of music, in the field of anything, has a technology element to it. So, to have an affinity to it is the second. The third, I would say, is the recognition, like I said, the world is becoming a smaller place. So the ease for globalization, not to say I live in my small world, but to be ready to and open for globalization, I would say would be the third. I think education is definitely moving in the right direction. It's not 100% there, and I'll tell you why. So where I think it's moving in the right direction is when we were young, there was a certain way we studied. There was a lot of memorization, a lot of acceptance of what is there without actually challenging. I think today the youth challenges everything, whether it is, and there are so many means with the whole availability of the web and social media, you check it. I think some of the good things, for example, you see a wide expansion of the type of education from the standard ICSE, ISC, CBSE. We have a lot of new types of learning, for example, IB coming into play, where it's a very different type of learning, more, actually being with the change, actually being a part of things rather than being told. It's actually being a part of it, and I think that's where we're doing well. There's changes in methods of teaching. I actually had a session just now with teachers, each of who were telling me how they have changed their style of teaching in the past couple of years to be more adaptable, to be take more of the change that's happening. So I think we're definitely headed there. Are we there yet? 100% no, not at all. I think we have room to grow, and it's all along the line of being more practical, being more open, being more questioning, and willing to see where things go. Okay, so as opposed to classroom learning, while of course classroom learning will continue and needs to continue, experiential part of it is very important. And there are some examples that are already happening where people today are learning more from case studies of things that are actually happening rather than just being taught a concept. So I think the two have to marry and coexist. The rule for exactly being told what is it and being learning it is important, but to apply a lens of practicality adds to it. So the two can coexist. That's the best. Sustainability is a part of our life. Okay, so it's not, we cannot exist without it. So it's very important for everybody, whether it's students, adults, to understand what sustainability is. And I think the best way to do it is to make them understand how it affects their life. Because if we know how it affects our life, we will understand more and have more of a role to play than if we don't. See, there's suddenly today so much awareness about pollution and air control and what needs to be done and how you can, what sustainable measures are needed to reduce that. So, and why is that happening? That's because it's touching our lives. So it's an essential part, and as we know more and more of how it affects us directly or indirectly, you will get more and more, embracing of it. So global citizenship, I actually alluded to it already in my first question. I think it is essential. With social media today, with Facebook, with Twitter, with Instagram, with everything, the world is a small place. In fact, we actually know more of what's happening with our friend or cousin in the US than we know what's happening our neighbor today. The world has become that small. Because of that, globalization is a must. We cannot sit in our isolated bubble and say, no, but we do things this way, we don't care how it's done elsewhere. The world is becoming one, it's becoming smaller, and it's becoming simpler in some ways, but much more complex in others. So embrace globalization, it'll only help you. Change is a constant. Okay, the world is constantly changing, and if you do not change with the times, you will be left behind. So like I said, adapt to technology, be open to globalization, adapt where you need to, because the world is just getting more and more rapid and changing more and more by the day, by the hour. So just, accept that, embrace it, and look at it as a positive thing. So my session was on how social media is affecting the future of education. It was with faculty members from students all across the country. It was interesting and for me, very eye-opening, because we've always seen teachers as in very traditional roles of being the person who guides you and tells you. But what teachers in that room told me were that they actually learn from their students. If question, and they're often questioned, and if they don't know an answer, they will actually say, I'm sorry, I don't know, can I get back to you? Go back and research, come back. So the teacher-student relationship, from being one person just telling the other, has become a much more mutually symbiotic, and both learning and both sharing with each other. So that was an eye-opener for me. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here. It was lovely.